The power of love is everything. And it's what we really need to move to and focus on now. Rather than focusing on all the fear, we can totally shift that and move ourselves totally into the light.
Hi everyone, welcome back. I'm Michael Sandler, your host on Inspire Nation. If you've ever wanted more health, happiness, and less fear during this ever-changing time, then do we have the Emotion Code show for you. Today I'll be talking with Dr. Bradley Nelson, holistic chiropractic physician and medical intuitive, and the creator of my all-time favorite and most used energy healing system and healing book on the planet, The Emotion Code. And that's just what I want to talk with him about today, about using emotion code techniques to overcome and shine during this most challenging and incredible time. So welcome back to the show, Dr. Brad. Are you ready to shine?
Absolutely, Michael, and thank you for having me back on your show again. Great to be here.
Thank you so much for being here and for doing it on a Saturday morning, because we are on a mission right now. And everybody, if you're listening, you have a mission too, to help the world shine brighter during this time. So with that said, what is Emotion Code and can it help us during this coronavirus time?
When we're experiencing emotions, especially negative emotions, sometimes that negative emotional energy can be so powerful that it can become trapped in the body. And so a trapped emotion is literally a ball of emotional energy from about the size of a baseball to about the size of a softball or a small melon. And these energies will lodge in the body. They can lodge anywhere in the body. And wherever they lodge, they will tend to cause a couple of different problems for us. They will tend to create a distorting effect on the normal energy field of the body. And when you distort the normal energy field of the body, you're really distorting the energy, you're distorting the body itself, right? And so ultimately you're interfering with chemical reactions and with the flow of energy in the meridians and with blood flow and lymph flow, we think, to some degree, and so on. And so this is a reason why releasing emotional baggage is often an immediate precursor to feeling a lot better physically. But then trapped emotions also affect us mentally and emotionally. So in other words, if you have a trapped emotion, say, for example, right now you have a trapped emotion of fear. Well, with all of the fear that's being played up by the media, right? With so much fear, if you already have a trapped emotion of fear, that could push you right into a feeling of panic. Finding and locating that emotion of fear, which could be from childhood or maybe from something else you went through when you were younger. Who knows? It could even be something that was inherited, that was maybe passed down to you from generations ago. By finding that emotional baggage and releasing that, all of a sudden, you are able to deal better with what's going on in the world right now.
If we clear away trapped emotions, in a sense, are we emotionally lighter, and we are emotional, energetic beings, therefore more capable, more resilient to whatever comes our way?
Well, I believe so, yes. I spent the last 10 years in practice working with people who had been told there was really no cure for them. And what I found was that a key component for them, but also for everybody else that I saw, was that no matter how young or how old a person was, no matter what they were suffering from, whether it was some physical or mental or emotional issue, that their emotional baggage was always a component. Sometimes it was the biggest component. Mm-hmm. But if you think about it, in this day and age that we live in, what is the one thing that is going to help ensure your survival more than anything else? That one thing is your own immune system, right? And how well that immune system is working. And what I absolutely believe and know for myself is that your emotional baggage has an effect on your immune system. The more emotional baggage you have, the more difficult it is for your body to really function optimally. And so getting rid of that baggage can only help you to function better and have a higher functioning immune system. And that's my own observation from many, many years of practice, 32 years now as a holistic physician. That's what I've seen. So getting rid of your emotional baggage can not only help you to feel better and feel happier, but it can also actually, I believe, help you to have a higher functioning immune system and it may just help you to survive. Who knows?
Thank you. Well, I look at this as the body is incredibly resilient as long as we don't have too big of a gorilla on our shoulders. And that gorilla can come from chemical stress, it can come from physical stress or biological stress, it can come from emotional stress being thrown at it. But the more layers of stress that we remove, the more resilience, the more energy or money we have in the bank to be able to deal with anything. So our emotion or our immune system can clip along at a higher level if our cup is not already full.
Yeah, that's exactly right. And if you look at the statistics that they're giving us about this coronavirus, 80% of the people who get this have a very mild experience, kind of like a mild sort of a cold. The people who are most at risk, of course, as we know, are people whose immune systems are compromised, people who are very elderly, who are maybe already dealing with some other kind of a disease process that's getting them close to the edge. And so in those cases, the coronavirus may be enough to push them over the edge.
Is there such a thing? Because I'm looking back at past traumas of humanity. We have, a World War II trauma, a World War I trauma. We've had the bubonic plague, 1918 to 1920 trauma. And these traumas, I believe, can actually collect in our system. They're in our zeitgeist. They're in our energetic field. Have you ever done a clearing on a whole group that are watching something?
Well, let me explain what we have found out about this and how this works.
Thank you.
Now, this is not actually in the Emotion Code book, okay? But it is in this other system called the Body Code, which is soon going to be available again as a download, as an app on the App Store and Google Play. Here's what happens. Sometimes we share emotional energy. Yeah. So in other words, let's say that you've got two people that are both observing the same event, and they're both feeling the same emotion of maybe it's terror or fear or dread or whatever it might be. What can happen is an emotional energy can become created that the two of them actually share. Now, sometimes it's more than two. Sometimes it's an entire family. It could be, for example, an entire village or an entire city. And theoretically, yes, it could be a whole planet full of people, right? Provided that they're all experiencing that same emotion at the same moment. And then what happens is the energy itself is really only one energy. So we talk about a trapped emotion as being a ball of energy, right? A shared trapped emotion is still just one ball of energy, but it's shared in this very interesting way between one to many different people. So releasing that energy from one person actually releases it from everyone instantaneously. And we see this kind of thing where especially two people are going through some sort of trauma or a family, but like I said, it can happen with a bigger population. And so it's a fascinating thing. The principles in quantum physics, those principles of non-locality and action at a distance and so on, basically explain how one energy can exist in different people at the same time, a trapped energy. And that's basically what a shared trapped emotion is. So yes, we have done some of this work, and it's very interesting.
Everybody who's watching this, and maybe it doesn't just affect everybody who's watching it, but everybody who's watching this was drawn to this for a particular reason. So we have some energetic connection. And I think it's hard to have a pulse today without having some level of fear. I am Mr. Bright and Shiny Beacon of Light. I see only positive coming out of it, but this does not mean I want any harm to come to anyone. So there's still a layer of fear.
Yeah, I feel the same way. I totally agree. Well, what we could do is we can try it. Let's see what shows up here.
Woohoo!
Okay. So what we'll do is, first of all, what we'll do is we'll ask for some help from up above. That's where the emotion code came from, the body code as well. Okay. There is a higher power, God, source energy, however you might refer to that higher power. And what we'll do is we'll just take a moment and just ask for some help, just silently, from that higher power. And then, because that's what opens the door, right? If you ask, you receive, and so on. So now what I'm going to do is I'm going to actually do some muscle testing here.
Sounds great.
I'm going to ask some questions. So when I ask a question, if the answer comes back as strong, that's a yes answer. If the answer comes back as weak, then that's a no. So I'm getting a yes answer on this. So let's test and see what emotion this is. And I'm imagining probably the emotion is fear. And let's ask, is that what it is? No. Is the emotion panic? Yeah, I mean, pretty obvious in a situation like this. It's probably going to be fear, dread, panic, something like that. So there is a trapped emotion of panic. There's an emotional energy that people are sharing about this. And so let's ask, do we need to know more about this? No. So can I go ahead and release this? So I can. So to release an energy like this, what I'm going to do is just pass my fingers like this over my governing meridian. And I'm essentially acting in a way that I'm going to be able to release that trapped energy, in this case, from everybody, because it's really only just one energy. It's really just one shared emotion. So let's ask, did we release that? And we actually did. So that's essentially how you would do that, and how you would do that maybe for a family or a couple or whatever it might be.
Can we use emotion code when somebody is actually sick? Is there anything that we can do to kind of release some burden during that time?
Well, sure. One of the things that you can do, because you see the subconscious mind is a computer, and you can ask the subconscious mind questions and it will give you answers. So with the emotion code, what you can do is you can ask the person, do you have a trapped emotion that we can release that will help you to better deal with the sickness, or that will improve your immune function, your immune system's ability to battle this. And the body will give you back an answer. And so absolutely. I mean, I built my whole career really, and the emotion code and the body code are really all about this whole idea that the subconscious mind, the spirit intelligence within each one of us, knows exactly what we need physically, mentally, emotionally. And if you ask that computer system through muscle testing, it will give you the answer. And it'll give you any answer that you want, really, as long as you're willing to do what it takes to get the answers.
So now that's on working on yourself, but is there a challenge, particularly during this time, if you're doing muscle testing on yourself and you're asking questions, of asking a question that is too emotionally laden for you to get an accurate answer?
Well, you can always have someone else work on you. If you're trying to work on yourself, but you're having difficulty, we have lots of practitioners around the world, close to 6,000 practitioners now in 80 different countries. And you can go to discoverhealing.com. That's our website, discoverhealing.com. And you can actually look at a map and find someone on the map that can help you if you're having trouble. So I'll tell you what I believe, Mike, on that is that we can release about 80% or maybe 90% of our own emotional baggage. We can work on ourselves. And in the Emotion Code book, of course, as you know, we teach you how to do that. But really, to get all of your emotional baggage, you're going to have somebody else at some point work with you, because some of that baggage is so deep and has been there for so long that you won't be able to find it yourself. In fact, that happened to me a couple of years after the Emotion Code book first came out in 2007. A couple of years after that, I had my daughter work on me, and she found I had an inherited trapped emotion of hopelessness that was 22 generations old. And releasing that from me released it from all those generations also. But it changed my life, and I had passed it to her when she was conceived, and it changed her life as well. So I don't think I ever would have found that.
On that note, when we're talking about passing things forward, can we use emotion code afterwards? Because afterwards, if it's minor, we're still a little shell-shocked because maybe we were somewhat locked up. Our lives were tremendously inconvenienced. It's such a weird time. Can we use this to peel off layers afterwards to get back to a new, we'll call it a new and improved normalcy, Dr. Brad?
Yes, a new and improved normalcy. I agree. I think this is actually, in spite of all the bad, there's always the yin and the yang.
Thank you.
Right, in everything going on in the world. And so it may seem that there's a lot of darkness happening, but remember the yin and the yang. There's always a balance. The dark and the light always have to maintain that balance. That's just the nature of things. And so as darkness maybe increases, the light increases as well. So when you get on the other side of a situation like this, absolutely, what you can do is you can check yourself and see, okay, what trapped emotions did I pick up during that, and let's release those, and now let's move on. You see, the thing that sometimes people forget is that the earth is in this transformational process, right? The earth is in labor, basically, trying to give birth to this new world where people are living from their hearts, and where these old constructs that are based on fear are gone. Imagine that's the world that we're living, that we're headed for, right? We're not living there yet. So I think that it's important to realize that this whole thing that's going on now with the coronavirus, it's all part of this. It's all part of moving towards this new world. It's going to be a bumpy road to get there, but we're headed in that direction.
I love that you put it that way, because what I've been telling people is I've thought of it as a cocoon, but I actually like the womb analogy better. Was what I've been sharing with people is that if we are forced to have social distancing, if we're forced to go quiet, we get to work on ourselves this time. Humanity gets to, in essence, go back into the womb to rebirth anew positively out of this experience.
I think so. I think that I think what this is going to do is it's going to bring people out of their frenzy in a lot of ways. I mean, if you think about it, we've been living our lives, so many of us, at least in the Western countries, we've been living our lives attached to our cell phones, to our devices, and now all of a sudden we're having this big wake-up call, and we're realizing, well, wait a minute, what actually matters to me? What really matters? And so I think that what's going to come out of this is that people are going to, they're going to find a resurgence in their faith in God, their faith in that higher power. And I think that it's going to bring a lot of people to a state where they're renewing that connection with that higher power that maybe they had kind of forgotten about because they were just so busy. And so I think that I think there are always good things that come out of anything like this. I mean, again, if you look at the yin and the yang, you can apply that principle to this whole coronavirus situation. And you can say, well, yes, there's bad, but there's an equal amount of good. And so what are you going to focus on? Are you going to focus on the bad, or are you going to focus on the good? Because whatever you focus on largely determines your state and really it determines your own personal reality. You know, it was interesting. Yesterday, I went to Costco with my wife to get some groceries. We hadn't been there in a long time. And you could sense the panic. You could kind of sense it and feel it. And people were zipping around. It was extremely busy, crazy. And initially, I was kind of feeling that a little bit myself. And then I decided to shift that. Now, one of the things that you can do to shift this kind of thing, if you think about it, there are polar opposites, right? Love, pure unconditional love, is on one end of the spectrum, and the other end is fear. Fear is a very, very low vibration, right? And so what you can do is what I did. And what I did is I started thinking about the people that I was seeing in that store, and I decided to just say silently to each one of them, I love you. And
Woo-hoo!
Right? And
yes,
let me tell you, when you start doing this, your state will radically shift. It didn't take long, maybe 10, 15 seconds of doing that. And suddenly, boom, I was on this very high level, smile on my face. And that's where we need to go. And the love is what's going to ultimately shift this planet and really help to give birth into this new world, because the new world that's coming is really all about love. That's what our Father in heaven is all about. That's why we're here. We're here to learn how to love, right? And fear is the opposite of that. And the dark side, that's all the dark side has, is fear for us. And so it's easy to fall into that. It can be kind of contagious, but we don't have to fall into it. It's up to us, see?
Thank you. I look at us, I love it. I look at us as a light bulb right now. And the reason I'm so, if you're listening to this, the reason you're so attracted to this, I'm calling you a light warrior right now, is you're attracted to this energy. You understand there's something positive that can come out of this. In Costco, each person you saw that at first, that's a heavy energy, that's that fear, all of a sudden, boom, I'm going to beam you love. I'm going to send you love. I'm going to send you love. Each person, the darkness becomes an opportunity to flip to the light. Darkness, light, darkness, light, darkness, light. And all of a sudden you've got a flicker rate. And the more you send love, send love, send love, because you are linking everybody I see, I send love. All of a sudden you're a light bulb. And a light bulb is flickering, but it looks to us like it's got this solid glow. And you are anchoring in this state of love. I absolutely love it.
Yeah, I'll tell you, it's really such a powerful thing that you can do, no matter how you're feeling. No matter how low you might be feeling, if you can just start telling people silently, I love you. And I'll tell you something else that goes along exactly with what you're talking about, and that is that people know it. They sense it, not necessarily outwardly, but they know what you're saying to them. We all know what we're saying to everyone else all the time. I mean, that communication is going on between all of us. But when you really sincerely tell someone, I love you, what it does is it's picked up by them, by their subconscious mind, and understood completely. And it doesn't matter how far away they are. They don't have to be in the same room. They can be on the other side of the planet. And so it's a very, very powerful thing. I'll share a story with you. I read a great book where I learned this principle, actually. It was by a man named Dr. Melvin Fish. Mm-hmm. And the name of the book is The Power of Unconditional Love. And I'll tell you a story from the book. He talks about a situation where he was a teacher in high school, and he had this new class of students one year that was very, very difficult. And at the end of the first day or two of class, a young man came up to him and he said, "Listen," he said, "Mr. Fish, this is going to be a problem class," because he said, "The big Samoan kid, he's the leader of the Samoan gang, and that other kid that's giving trouble is the leader of Mexican gang, and they hate each other. And so this is going to be a real problem." So what Mr. Fish did was the next day he got to class early, and he arranged his seat so that he could see everyone coming in through the door. And as people were coming in through the door, he would just silently bless them. He would say, "I love you, and I bless you that you'll have a great day." And with these two gang members, these gang leaders, he gave double and triple doses, I think, too. After a couple of days, one day, this big Samoan gang leader kid stands up as the class is winding down, and he says, "Susie, sit down." And then a couple of other kids, "Joe, Bill, shut up." And then when the class was quiet because they didn't know what was going on, he turns to the teacher and he says, "Mr. Fish, you can start now." And so this young man became kind of like the policeman of the class and made sure that there was order in the class. And it was just the most amazing class that he had taught. And years later, he ran into this young man who was doing incredibly well, and ran into another young man who said, he said, "I remember very little about school, but," he said, "I remember your class. I remember you. I remember where I sat. I remember exactly where I was, and I don't remember anything else." I said, "Why do you think that is?" And Mr. Fish said, "Well, do you think it's because you knew that I loved you?" And he said, "Yes, that's absolutely it. Think about that. The power of love is everything. And it's what we really need to move to and focus on now. Rather than focusing on all the fear, we can totally shift that and go to the other end of the spectrum and move ourselves totally into the light on that yin-yang scale." So,
woohoo! Walking, talking ambassadors of love. That's what you're talking about. And there's an expression. Do you ever run a marathon?
I haven't.
So you don't need to. With that said, I coached an athlete for the St. George, or the Ironman that took place in St. George, mm-hmm. where you are, years ago, and helped a lot of athletes with marathons, done on myself. And they say that everybody becomes religious at mile 20. You've got 6 miles to go. This is our collective mile 20.
Yeah.
This is where we get a choice to make of going down into the darkness or going, I am going to crank up the light. And then all of a sudden, oh my God, and I guess that's literal as well as metaphorical, do you feel better? And the more, for instance, if you're watching the news, what I call negative worthless stimulation, and right now you might want to watch a little bit to figure out if you're like being locked down or something. I get it. Dive in, get out, send love. Dive in, get out, send love. If you spend any time in there, spend an equal or greater amount of time. Bring balance to this by sending love, not just sending love because of the negative stories, but anybody in need. Because like you're saying, I've thought about it of walking. I was joking with CJ Liu, who I had on the show a couple of days ago, walking through an airport and going, I send love, and somebody going, and suddenly feeling it. They don't know why,
Right.
but we will literally feel it. Send it to those in need.
Yeah, absolutely right. It's the most powerful force there is, and it's why we're here and what we're here to learn. And this is a great opportunity to learn it.
One of the challenges that we have right now is social isolation. We're a species that is stuck in our phones, that is stuck in social media, which does not, every study shows, does not make us feel more connected and make us feel better. Now we are literally being told to isolate ourselves from others. We have a 6-foot rule in our valley right now. Don't come within 6 feet of anybody. Don't gather with others. How can emotion code potentially help us with this feeling of being all alone during this time?
Well, I think it's important for us to realize that we're never really alone. We're never alone. We have a Father above who loves us, and I had a profound spiritual experience myself when I was 15 years old, and I learned that higher power, God, source energy, our Father, is real and loves us with a love that we can't even begin to comprehend. And so that, I believe, really is why we're here, to have these experiences, to make our own choices, and to learn for ourselves about the consequences of the choices that we make, and eventually to get back to where we came from, having learned all the things that we've learned. But if you think about it, when people die and they go to the other side and they come back to tell the tale, which sometimes happens, most of those people go through some kind of a life review, and they're never asked, how much money did you make, or how big of a car, or how nice of a car did you drive, or how big of a house did you live in. They're never asked that. They're instead asked similar questions. How much knowledge were you able to gain? How much love were you able to develop for your fellow beings? It's about knowledge, and it's about love, I think, primarily. And there's a scripture from the New Testament where Paul said that if I can do great miracles, and if I can speak with the tongue of men and of angels, and I can do all these amazing things, if I don't have love, then I'm nothing. And that's what's so important at this time. It's important all the time, but especially now. So if you're stuck in a situation where you're isolated, realize you're not alone. And you can take this time to start opening that heart to that power that created you and that created all of us and created the universe, and start connecting with that higher power. Because that higher power, that Father, is real, loves you, and is there. You just have to make the effort to connect. It's like the old story, right? Ask and you shall receive, right? If you ask for God's help, you can receive that help, and it doesn't always come instantly, and it doesn't always come in the way we want. But I believe that God's a lot smarter than we are.
Absolutely. And I love ask and you shall receive. I'm a big angels guy. And my belief in the angels is that they're always around, they're always supporting us, they're always here to help us, but they will not take massive action unless it's a life or death situation, in which case they'll help you turn the wheel and in a moment's notice. but you have to ask them for assistance. And what a better time to create an even stronger relationship with a higher power, with the angels, with the inner wisdom, with love, source, whatever you want to label it. What better time than right now? And to use each time you see the fear, again, that flickering light, and bring it back. Corona. When I think of the term corona, I go back to being on a lake in South Carolina 4 or 5 years ago. Clouds are parting. Sun is just about completely enveloped by the moon. I'm in the totality of the eclipse. And this incredible corona of light shoots out of the darkness. That metaphorically and quite literally is where we are today. You can go and focus on the darkness in the center, or you can see this amazing corona of light coming out, and we can be that light.
Well said, Michael.
Thank you. So a few last questions here, then we'll dive into a meditation. Is there anything else or anything, even on the medical side, that you're doing particularly with your family right now?
Well, yes, I think one of the things that's important that is showing to be something that for this virus, in my own experience, I believe it will help. And it's been shown to help in other viral situations, and that is to make sure that you are full of trace minerals. Make sure that you've got all your minerals. Okay, most of us are deficient in minerals. That's important. I think vitamin C is important. It's also important to follow the guidelines that are coming out from the CDC. Wash your hands. Okay. 20 seconds, on your hands. Try to avoid touching your face. Don't touch your eyes. If you're sick, stay home. It's all really good advice.
Very good. And we use from Dr. Carolyn Dean, we're using Remag, Remite every morning, getting as much minerals as we can into ourselves, doing some colloidal silver as well. And then trying to figure out what a home solution is, because everything, even the vinegar, seems to be out of stock to make our own hand cleaner or sanitizers at the moment.
Yeah. Well, a good old-fashioned soap is wonderful.
Excellent. Any last thoughts on how we can use emotion code specifically during this time?
Absolutely. You can use the emotion code on yourself. You can use the emotion code on your family members. One of the beautiful things about this is that in an age where we're being asked to isolate ourselves to a degree for a while, hopefully no more than a couple of months or so, you don't have to be present to use the emotion code with someone. You can release emotional baggage on a friend of yours, and maybe they're across the street and you don't have to even cross the street. Or maybe they're on the other side of the planet. It's the same thing. And if you aren't sure about it, you'd like somebody to work with you, our practitioners all over the world they're still at work.
Excellent. And any last words or positive words of wisdom that you want to share with people today?
I think that your thoughts create your reality. And so I think that it might be a good idea, like you were saying, to go on a kind of a low intake news diet. If you're constantly checking your phone, the news is pretty much all negative right now. But remember that this kind of thing has happened in the past, and the news media, unfortunately, the old saying is, if it bleeds, it leads. And so any kind of negative news is what they're going to be trumpeting. I would hate to be one of them and have to be immersed in that all day long. So check the news, but try to not have the TV on all the time. And figure out, yes, it's important to know what's going on, and especially in your local area, but try to stay above it and focus on the love. Think about and focus on those that you love and those you care about the most, and you can release emotional baggage from them and from yourself, and that will really help you to stay at a higher level of vibration during this whole process. And we're going to get through this. This isn't going to go on forever. We'll get through this. We just need to hang in there, and it's going to be okay.
Woohoo! Before our interview, I had on Pharrell Williams' Happy song. I played another song, Country Eyed Joe. I did Don't Worry, Be Happy, because music has an energy to it. Everything has an energy. What you're talking about today is how we play with energy during this time. And so I'm wanting to make sure I ingest as much positive energy and goodness as I can.
That's right. That is absolutely right.
On that note, then, would you mind leading us in a meditation of your calling?
Absolutely. I think what I'll do is actually make this a little bit of a prayer for us. Okay.
Beautiful.
All right. So, our Father in heaven, we are grateful to be able to be living at this time. We're grateful to be in this world. We're grateful for all of the learning that we're going through. We're grateful for our lives. We're grateful that we're able to experience this mortal experience. Grateful for the choices that we have made in our lives. Grateful for the things that we've learned. Grateful for these experiences that we're having in this world. We ask that we'll be able to have the strength to stay focused on positivity and on love during this time. And we ask for help in becoming vessels of light and vessels of love in this world, that we will be able to bring light and bring love to all, that the vibrational level of this planet will increase and raise, and that we'll be able to overcome this darkness right now that's going on and come out of this at a higher level of vibration than we went into this with. And we're grateful for this opportunity, and we know that things like this are opportunities, and we ask that that you would comfort those who are grieving at this time for the loss of loved ones, and we ask that you'll help them to know that they will see those loved ones again, and that it is all in your control. And we are grateful for all that we have, and we ask for this help, Heavenly Father, in the name of your Son, Jesus Christ. Amen.
Amen. Oh, I've got goosebumps. Woohoo! Thank you so much, Dr. Brad. You are helping everybody today to shine brighter. And if you're listening to this, you are a light worker. You are a light warrior. And it is your job now to balance the darkness by bringing the light, by going to that love, and basically doing everything that Dr. Brad told you today. On that note, where can people go to find your beautiful book and to find your practitioners?
Well, the Emotion Code is available, of course, on Amazon and of course, lots of bookstores around the world. But you can also get it on audible.com as an audio book, so you can listen to it, which is kind of my favorite way to digest books. You can also find a practitioner by going to discoverhealing.com and just click on the practitioners button. So there you go.
So for everyone out there, this is Michael Sandler saying, be well, have fun, get the Emotion Code, and begin uplifting your life and the world today, and shine bright. Woohoo! Love it. Thank you so much.
Thank you, Michael.
If you like this video, then you're a light worker, you're a light warrior, and we need your love and light. We need to crank it up to the max. That's why we're offering boot camps. You can check them out down below. Monday through Friday events, 1 hour a day, almost free, to help you crank your light up to the max, get you in the most positive place possible, boost your immune system to the max, and help you to help the world to shine bright. We're also offering YouTube live events every Saturday and Sunday during this time to help you overcome fear, overcome worry, overcome stress, and again, boost up your immune system. These tapping events, these boot camps, all involve group meditations where we come together, set group intention, help you help yourself, help your family, and help the entire world. You're a light worker. Your time is now. So come join us. Click below for these extra special events. Love you guys so much. shine bright. I just had the most beautiful, inspiring, energizing, emotion code releasing interview with Dr. Bradley Nelson on the Emotion Code. To check out more incredible interviews, particularly on helping you raise your vibration and become a light worker during this time, click here, subscribe below, click on the bell icon to be notified of upcoming shows. Leave your comment, please. Thumbs up, thumbs up, thumbs up if you like this. Love you guys so much. Shine bright. Woohoo!